1.
Good evening, class. Today we are going to learn how to and go over how to take apart a primary source and or first-hand account document. So for today's lesson and document, it is going to pertain to the boarding schools that were ran in the United States from the late 19th century to the late 20th century. Now, so we're going to start this lesson. I'm going to read this document and take it apart and try to figure out who the author is, their point of view is the point of the purpose of the document, the historical context if I can, and kind of the details and reasons for the document along with the audience as well. So we're going to start here. The Department of the Interior, Office of the Indian Affairs, Washington, January 11, 1902. So right there we have a clue about time and place. It's coming from Washington in 1902. The Superintendent, Round Valley, California, sir. So that lets us know that the audience of this letter is a superintendent in Round Valley, California, who is a male. This office desires to call your attention to a few customs among the Indians which it is believed should be modified or discontinued. The wearing of long hair by the male population of your agency is not in keeping with the advancement they are making, or will soon be expected to make, in civilization. Wearing of short hair by the males will be a great step in advance and will certainly hasten their progress towards civilization. The returned male student far too frequently goes back to the reservation and falls into the old custom of letting his hair grow long. So, right there, I think we just found out that the Office of the Interior of Indian Affairs wants this superintendent in Round Valley, California, to have Native Americans stop doing certain customs of their culture. One of them, so far that we can tell, is the wearing of long hair by the male population, and that in the eyes of this author, having short hair is a sign of civilization and advancement. So now let's get moving here again. He also paints profusely and adopts all the old habits and customs which his education, our industrial schools have tried to eradicate. The fault does not lie so much with the schools as with the conditions found on the reservation. These conditions are often due to the policy of the government towards the Indian and are often perpetuated by the superintendents not caring to take the initiative in fastening any new policy on his administration of the affairs of the agency. So right there, the author saying that the reason the native students keep returning with long hair is because of the conditions on the reservation, that the government isn't really helping it with any of their policy decisions. Many of the reservations, the Indians of both sexes paint, claim that it keeps the skin warm in winter and cool in the summer, but instead this paint melts when the Indians perspire and runs down into his eyes. The use of this paint leads to many diseases of the eye among those Indians who paint. Persons who have given considerable thought and investigation to the subject are satisfied that this custom causes the majority of the cases of blindness among the Indians of the United States. So I believe we found that the other custom that they want native people to stop doing is painting of the body. And that I also apparently believe that someone who has investigated the subject, the situation, believes that the paint is the biggest reason that native people are having cases of blindness. So let's continue on here. You are therefore directed to induce your male Indians to cut their hair in both sexes, to stop painting, and with some of the Indians these will be an easy matter, with others it will require considerable tact and perseverance on the part of yourself and your employees to successfully carry out these instructions. With your Indians, employees, and those Indians who draw rations and supplies, it should be an easy matter, as a non-compliancy with the order may be made a reason for discharge or for withholding rations and supplies. Many may be induced to comply with the order voluntarily, especially the returned students. The returned students who do not comply voluntarily should be dealt with similarly. Employment, supplies, etc. should be withdrawn until they do comply, and if they become obstreperous about the matter, a short confinement in the guardhouse at hard labor with shorn hair and should furnish a cure. So there, I struggled a little bit. If you guys noticed, students that I struggled with the word that to become obstreperous about it. I'm guessing if I was to think about this, given the context of what I'm reading, is that students are refusing, not cooperating to do what they're asking them to do. So if you looked a little bit further down that same sentence, um, it the person writing this letter suggests that they be confined in the guardhouse, which I'm guessing is similar to a holding cell, and forced to do hard labor and have their hair forcibly cut. That's very, very intense. What do you guys think? That's a little too much for a punishment like that? Okay, let's continue on here. Certainly, all the younger men should wear short hair, and it is believed that by tact, perseverance, firmness, and withdrawal of supplies, the agent can induce all to comply with this order. So, the other part that I wanted to mention that I saw earlier was the withdrawal of supplies. Now, that means they're withholding food and other items from the native people. And it's very interesting given that they were required by the treaties that most of those tribes signed that that's something they're supposed to supply. Yet here they are withholding it to get them to comply with changing their culture. Okay, let's finish this last paragraph. The wearing of citizen clothing instead of the Indian costume and blanket should be encouraged. Indian dances and so-called Indian feasts should be prohibited. In many cases, these dances and feasts are simply suffrage to cover degrading acts and to disguise immoral purposes. You are directed to use your best efforts in the suppression of these evils. And on or before June 30th, 1902, you will report to the office the progress you have made in carrying out the above orders and instructions. Very respectfully, W something commissioner, and I'm guessing it's WLS. So the person that wrote the article is the commissioner. They also want the person that they're writing this article to report to them about their progress in changing these customs and habits by June 30th. So they're asking them to persevere and have native people stop dressing in their traditional clothing and using blankets and start wearing citizen clothing or civilized clothing. So, as you guys saw, we kind of took it slow and we broke down each part, filled in the blanks and the questions that we had on what the content was, who they were talking to, what was the purpose of this letter, and the historical context, and who was the audience of this letter. The content, the purpose of this one is to get the Round Valley superintendent on board with the process that all the boarding schools are supposed to be doing in the United States on having Native Americans with short hair stop painting their bodies and wearing citizens' clothing. Any questions? We'd be happy to. Well, and the next what we're going to do is you're going to go over another document, the response to this letter actually from the superintendent. And I shouldn't have told you that, but now you know. And you're going to go over that and break it down and see if you can find all the pinpoints and the purposes of that with my help, because we're going to go over it together. Alrighty, thank you.